I'm also a mom, so I tried to just make today super casual. It is a Friday. We've had some crazy weather. And this month is, this week is actually a mental health awareness week, but also maternal mental health as well. And so I thought it would just be fun to kind of chat about a few different, I guess, topics that I hear come up with clients, and then also, things I might be experiencing myself as a mom. And so it's a very down to earth space. You can pause, you can ask questions, you can do it through the chat, whatever feels comfortable. Just do what feels best. All right. So this is just a welcome. This is kind of what I just did, reminding you that you are not alone. And always just a good reminder that, especially our Mighty app that you've joined, some of the reasons behind this space is just creating kind of a safe space for us to have as women and mothers and females kind of just in our community. I do have a personal, I guess, interest or a niche in ADHD. So I definitely threw a little sprinkle of that in here, but it's okay if it doesn't apply to you as well. And I hope that you kind of walk away just feeling supported, empowered, and feel like you're thriving, not surviving.
Sounds good.
All right. So modern motherhood. Hi, Amy. Welcome. Equals heavy. So some of the themes that we hear, especially for new moms, or perhaps like more like moms with younger kiddos, is just, hi, Amy. Welcome. Some themes were isolation, the rising expectations of moms, and shrinking support. And so isolation can look different for everyone. It could be that you feel isolated and yet you have 10 people standing in the living room with you. It could be that isolation is it's just you and your baby and nobody else. It could be, you and your partner and baby, and that's it. So it kind of looks different, but it's more around the feeling. And sometimes that can also look like someone who's well supported. They have tangible supports, like their sister's going to pick up the kids and someone's coming to clean, but they maybe still feel isolated and don't know about the resources around in town. I can speak to that in my own experience, right? I didn't actually know that there was this whole great community of women supporting women out there, until I started working in the field. So if I had known that earlier, it could have definitely helped. And then the rising expectations. I think that, is it Olivia Scobie? Is that how you say her last name? She has a book on this, but just like I think about Pinterest mom or Instagram mom, right? Like we're often in a space of comparison now that we have social media. And sometimes that can lead to unrealistic expectations that we have around what motherhood should look like, feel like, and we don't always see kind of what's happening behind the scenes. And so that really just impacts how we feel as moms, as we feel as women, as we feel as humans. And so sometimes it's just being mindful of that, and honestly knowing that there isn't like a picture perfect parenting, or a standard, and just showing up kind of how you feel is best for you and your family. And then shrinking support. This was definitely a theme as we saw a few years ago, just like limited connection, but shrinking support can again be different. Is it that geographically you're further from people? Is it weather related? Is it finances related? Is it, underlying blocking beliefs or core beliefs that we have that prevent us from being able to kind of share the load? And so those are just some things to think about. I don't love the spacing of that. So one kind of evidence-based strategy that I have been using with clients, and that a lot of clinicians in the field have talked about, is behavioral activation. And so the kind of premise behind that is like if we take action or live kind of in alignment with our values versus our moods. And so behavioral activation is just you actually doing the behaviors whether you want to or not. And the other part of that is recognizing the impact that behaviors may have on our mood. And so this is spiraling. And so it's what we do affects how we feel. And so our actions and our feelings form kind of this feedback loop. Um, and so behavioral activation argues that small changes in behavior can shift those emotional patterns. And so being able to understand these spirals gives us the power to change them. So a really good example that we've been chatting about lately, and Ashley, feel free if you have, I'm putting you on the spot, so you also don't have to answer, but if you have an example, or Amber or Amy, around something that's happened. And so spiraling up versus spiraling down is going to depend on kind of what we did or didn't do. And so you can think of an example where something happened. I guess let me think of like a relatable example. My kids missed the bus. And my moods or kind of feelings around that is like stress, frustration, maybe some curiosity. So what I did is I was kind of ruminating, right? When we think about thinking, it's not actually a feeling. Thinking is a behavior, it's an action. And so I'm thinking about this, which in turn was just like making my mood feel worse. And so that action that I was taking around like, oh my gosh, we missed the bus. Why can't we ever get to the door on time? It's taking me to a spiral down. And so some of the things that perhaps I wasn't doing is asking for help or, you know, creating a bedtime routine that would make the morning easier, whatever that looks like. So that's an example of spiraling down. And then the same thing is spiraling up. Are there things that we are doing, like actions that we're taking that actually improve kind of our mood or how we feel? And so I think about perinatal moms, like, is it just that you're prioritizing eating? Is it that maybe you got to go for a walk and that spirals you up, and you know that when I get my walk in, I feel better about my week or my day? Is it I asked for help and that helps me feel better? So it doesn't have to be anything too, you know, too wild. It can just be those simple little steps that we're taking in our day.
All right, I'm here. He's awake.
Ah, hello.
You say hello. You say hello. Yeah, so I spiraled very low and then actually got the help of Amy and spiraled right back up because I was very sleep deprived and I didn't have the support of my husband, and my family lives far away. So it was just super hard at the beginning. So then we had Amy as an overnight doula, and she's just like a godsend. And then now we're spiraling up because my 11-week-old sleeps 6 to 9 hours a night in his own crib by himself. We go to early on classes every single day. So Monday, Tuesday, we're in Alliston. Wednesdays, we're in Tottenham. Thursdays, Angus. And now Fridays in Alliston. So I went from being like, I hit such a wall at the beginning, and I was just, I couldn't even form a connection with him. And yeah, I hit a very low time in my life. And then now we're spiraling up because like I can actually get out of the house and go for walks with him, and my sleep's back. So yeah, everything's really good now. Yeah.
That's so exciting to hear. And I really appreciate just your willingness to be vulnerable and share with us. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
And such a great example. You're right, of like the little actions that we can take, right? Whether we feel like it or not, but it's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to do this because I know that I will feel good.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, like I could wake up and be like, "Oh, I didn't sleep great." Even though he slept great, I could be like, "I didn't sleep great," but I know he loves going and interacting with everyone else, so I go out and I do it for him. So, and it helps both of us because then we're both in a good mood.
That's a bonus.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Such a good example. And I had a visual here I forgot about. So, tiny action. And it sounds like you didn't take a tiny action. You took like a leap of action there, which is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to. It was when you hit that like mental wall, it was really hard to come out of, but honestly the support from um Amy was just what really helped me. Oh, bucks.
And she is amazing.
She is so good. So good. I like still want her even though he sleeps 9 hours a night.
It's the community, right? It's
It
that
is.
those supports.
Yeah.
Exactly. Such a good example. Well, you're definitely, it sounds like you're in that upward momentum phase right now. And
Yes.
that's where you're getting kind of that positive feedback.
Yeah.
That's a great example. Thank you. I appreciate that. And you kind of touched on this, just sharing around like you go for him. And so this is a values compass. And so the belief is that kind of when we live in alignment with our values, we feel more connected to ourselves and we feel better. And so a value of yours might be family or might be parenting or being loved. And so it's like you're going to take these actions or steps that are in alignment with that, kind of regardless of how we feel, right? Like we might still feel tired, and there's a time and a place to honor how our body feels. I will preface that. I don't want you ignoring the cues of your body. But this is why I always kind of use a walk, right? Because I feel like we could definitely be tired and also go for like a 5-minute walk. And so it's like, is my value, moving my body or health? And so, like, what are small, tiny micro steps that I can take to live in alignment with that, regardless of my mood or how I'm feeling? Does that make sense? Any, Amber is a values guru. Any questions, thoughts on that?
I love values, as you know. And I think that like it just makes so much sense. Like if you feel overwhelmed by things because you haven't been spending enough time with your partner, for example, and your relationship is an important value, having that time together, then like how do you make that happen? How do you prioritize that time? Because like as you said, like you already feel burnt out or like you don't have the time, but if you do this one thing, then you know you'll feel better after. So thinking about yeah, what's really important in your values.
Yeah. And some of the conversations that I hear and have is also people don't always know what their values are, right? Like maybe we have to figure out what that is before we can have a compass to guide us. And so that there's always lots of fun activities that you can do to explore values as well. So, all right. And this is that piece. So living by our values, it just offers us connection, growth, health, service. So I love the examples that are here, right? Just calling a friend for 5 minutes is that connection piece, especially if we feel like isolated. Growth, learning one tiny new skill. Um, and thinking about like when I work with clients doing actual behavioral activation, we do kind of mood tracking because it offers your brain a little bit of evidence around how I felt before I did this and how I feel after. And sometimes that can be really helpful for you to see value in the time spent, right? So if I think about learning one tiny new thing, like if growth is my value, how did I feel before? Maybe kind of low, maybe not feeling very fulfilled in my parenting journey, feeling a little isolated. And then I take this one kind of tiny new step. Maybe it's simply just like listening to a growth podcast. Like we don't have to get too exciting here. And then how do I feel after? Right? Do I notice a little bit of purpose or fulfillment or energy and enjoyment in my day? And so, how can I continue doing that? Um, Oh my. When you download this, the spacing moves, unfortunately. So sorry. So if you don't have ADHD, apologies, and I will breeze through this. And I always just like to touch on this a bit because there's a lot of emerging evidence around women in ADHD, and there's like these kind of, I like to call them pain points. So typically it's like a big hormone shift, but like when you get your menstrual cycle, when you have children, when you're in perimenopause, they can kind of be pain points for ADHD. Sometimes it's just simply because these great mechanisms that we had in place to manage our ADHD are disrupted. So, when you start having kids, you don't really have a lot of control in your day sometimes. And so that can feel like really overwhelming and stressful. And it might disrupt some of the mechanisms you had in place. And so that's kind of why I chat about ADHD and motherhood. Any questions about that? Okay. I have like a lot of psychoeducation, but I also don't want to bore you on your lunch day. So we can kind of get into some of it. And then if you feel like, nope, not my wheelhouse, that's okay too. So this is just, our executive function is that kind of planning, organizing the time, our emotional overwhelm, feelings of intensity with less kind of filtering on our day. It can also be sensory overload. So this is a common example that I think ADHD aside, a lot of parents feel. But it's an example that comes up is you have a baby crying, you feel perhaps like, if you're very fresh after having a baby, like your body is literally changing for quite a long time. Your uterus is shrinking, like all these things are happening internally that are kind of overloading your sensory system. And then we have these external things, babies crying, maybe you have toddlers, maybe the kettle is simply boiling for that tea you really wanted. And that all just becomes very overwhelming and just overloads our sensory system. And it's just about being kind of aware of that, I guess, and offering ourselves grace can be really helpful. The invisible shame piece, I add in there because there is like the theme around, say, mom rage, for example. A lot of times, I don't actually think, and this isn't evidence-based, but I don't think moms are angry. I think that they're just overwhelmed, overloaded, tired, busy, not living in alignments with their values, right? All these things are showing up. And when we think about anger, I always think of like the iceberg, right? So we're just seeing like this small tip of like what's actually going on in that person's life beneath the surface. And so that, it can't be just ADHD specific. That's all moms, but it's a good example that I use. Then we just chat about strengths. So again, these are things that I'm sure we can argue everybody does, but my evidence and research is on ADHD. So just that deep empathy, right? Understanding the struggles from inside out, literally in our sensory and somatic systems, the creativity, problem solvings, right? There is a lot of entrepreneurs out there who found out later in life that they had ADHD, and that was just like the way their brain worked, and they kind of honed in and took advantage of that. And then authentic relationships, especially as parents, we can definitely empathize with our children if that's something that they're also struggling with. Okay, so like I said, I kept it very short and brief. Any questions, anything you wanted to chat about? It's a safe space. We can kind of chat about anything.
Nothing that really comes to my head right now. Mister has lots to say.
Yeah. Was there any I know you shared that sleep was a pain point before. Is there any pain points that you think of now or like just women in general that kind of comes to mind? You're like, we need to be talking about this more.
Um, well, I'll give you like a brief backstory. So I was induced at 37 weeks and 5 days and was in labor for 18 hours and then ended up getting an emergency C-section because his heart rate kept dropping per contraction. So right in the OR I went and I ended up losing 3 times the amount of blood while he was being delivered. So it was almost like I died in the OR. Just took a longer recovery. And I found that was like super traumatic for me and that my
Yeah.
husband didn't really understand like pretty much any of that. So when we got released from the hospital, um, I was supposed to rest and whatnot, and I was doing everything for the baby. Like it was a big adjustment for both of us, but I just felt like he was like neglecting us and very not helpful with anything really. So I was breastfeeding him and we were doing great with breastfeeding. I was producing, I was pumping. It was like I'd feed him and then I would pump and then 5 minutes later he'd be ready for a feed again. And so with that, it took a lot of my mental, like a mental load off, put a big mental load on me.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big part of why I hit like a brick wall almost. So I had to make that hard decision to stop breastfeeding and switch to formula because, and like, who knows, like maybe if my husband did help me out, I would still be breastfeeding. And I think about that all the time. And but he was just so awful to me at the beginning. It was like he didn't even care for us. And so that took a like it didn't feel nice. It just
No. Yeah.
yeah, it and I was going through a lot and he just wasn't understanding it. And we also have a stepson. And so when you say sensory overload, anytime we would get the stepson, like we have a newborn and they're just sitting here like playing video games and like my newborn's screaming and they're just like ignoring him and I'm just like it was just a lot. And so like
Yeah.
and then I looked like the bad person because I would snap. So yeah, it was just a lot. Like I would call my mom every day, bawling my eyes out because I it was so hard. Every aspect of raising my little one was just hitting me so hard. That's why the mental health sits really close to my heart. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because I also suffered anxiety and depression before I was pregnant. So my psychiatrist actually pre-booked me every week and then every 2 weeks after I gave birth just to keep up like in contact with me and make sure I was doing okay. And now we're on monthly visits. Um, but yeah, no, it was just I have so much resentment for my husband because of the first like prime 3 to 4 weeks with the newborn. And he just like, yeah, it was just awful. So
Yeah.
he is getting better, but there's also like, if I didn't ask him to like hold him or change his diaper or feed him, then he wouldn't do any of those things just by himself. Like in the middle of the night on the weekends, it's not even the middle of the night anymore because he sleeps long stretches. But it'll be like 6 a.m. and I'll be like, can you please get up with him? He goes, what do I do?
Mm.
Yeah, figure it out. You change his diaper, you feed him, play with him. um, so yeah, it's still like that. But and then I just get fed up with it because it's just such like a broken cycle and continues to be the same thing. So I just say screw it. I don't even ask him to get up anymore. I do it.
I hear like honestly just hear how, amazing you are and how many actions and steps you've taken to just like take care of yourself through so much. Oh my goodness, right? Like
Yeah. Well, I
and
had to because I needed like a happy mom is a happy baby. And I my mom didn't recognize me. My mom, when she had us as kids, like my grandma was retired, so grandma was able to take care of us, but my mom still works in this day and age, so she wasn't able to. So that's why my mom actually gifted me Amy. Um, I should have just kept telling my mom that Jackson was sleeping horrible. And then we would stop. But no, like Amy and I, we've stayed close because she's like a second mom here to Jackson, and she's helped me. She was like my friend, my therapist. Like she didn't leave right when she was supposed to at 6 a.m. We were just chatting, and yeah, no, she made it feel very like homey and like I said, like thank God I had Amy because my husband was horrible through it all, and like he still is, but it's just I can't let that affect me anymore because then it affects my relationship with Jackson. And I
Mhm.
want the best for Jackson. So even if he has a day off, like that doesn't mean we're staying home with my husband. Like we have things to do. We're going to our early on classes. Like I'm just sticking to a schedule with him. And it makes me happy seeing him so happy. And So yeah, I got to do what's best for him, and I've realized that. And yeah,
I hear you taking so many of those steps, right? Like that behavioral
mm,
activation around like what can I do that's going to help me spiral up? And
yeah,
um it feels hard to say like good example because of course your experience, there's good in there and there's also a lot of pain and probably grief, right?
yeah,
Um, but like you kind of touched on that isolation piece of like feeling so isolated at home and also having supports. Like you had your mom, and obviously your mom's very wise and she recognizes the benefit of that. And if she couldn't do it, she found someone who could.
yeah,
And like how we can have that parallel of like feeling super, super isolated and also having
yeah.
supports around. And
Oh,
sometimes it isn't
absolutely.
always the people that we're closest with, right? Like sometimes it's
Oh
just,
no, it's the community I'm building with other moms. Like I have moms check in on me all day, every day. And now either like I've seen new moms on my Instagram, so like friends from like high school, and maybe I don't talk to them all the time. I never did, but I reach out to them now because I know that they're in like the fresh stages of a newborn. And so I'm like, I know exactly what you're going through. If you need to call me at 2 a.m., call me. Like what you're going through is normal, and like the community I needed at that time. I just want to be there for others. So yeah.
that's kind of you that you're sharing like such a
Yeah.
challenging time and you're
Yeah.
willing to share that with others. I think that's so
Oh
beautiful.
yeah. My one friend, she just had a newborn and her husband went back to work after 2 weeks. And this was last Thursday. I was like, and it was very stressful for her because she has like really high anxiety as well. So her husband going back to work was causing an insane amount of anxiety, and it's also her first newborn. So I said, she lives 2 hours away, but I was like, hey, I'll pack up my car and I'll come hang with you for the day until he gets home. I'm like, you want to go sleep for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours the whole time I'm there? Go for it. I'll take care of the baby. Like it's I needed that, and I know other moms need that. So if I can be that for other moms, then I absolutely will be, because I know how hard it is and was. And yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what I did. And she slept for like 2 hours. So
Sounds
yeah.
like Amy might have another member on her team soon. That's cool.
Yeah. And I love how you're like, yeah, you are a part of the team and you are doing the good work of like normalizing women's experiences, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes people who aren't in the thick of it, they forget or they don't even know, right? It's not always malicious. Like people are just unaware of like how challenging that can be or how raw, right? And to just have someone show up with no expectations of like, go have a nap, go shower, go do what you got to do, and how therapeutic that can be.
Yeah, like let me bring the food, let me bring your coffee. Like don't you dare lift a finger. Like yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing. That's
Yeah,
so
it
good.
looks like I have a new doula on my team.
I know, right?
You've been trained well.
I have been. Well, Amy showed up to my Cairo appointment with Jackson so that I can enjoy a massage without Jackson in the room. And then she went into the Cairo appointment with Jackson and I. And like, Amy's just so great. So yeah, if I can pay it forward to someone else too, because I had Amy for me, I absolutely will.
It
Awesome.
sounds like Amy's like really amazing at holding space for people, which is
Oh,
so,
unreal.
yeah,
Yeah,
on top of all the other skills she has. But
I know.
it's so
Just add
beautiful.
it to the hair list.
Yeah.
I love what I do.
We can tell.
She's definitely living in alignment with her values.
Mhm.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's a perfect way to put it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And I I hope that we can just hold space and kind of grieving what, potentially birth felt like it was going to be and what it ended up being. And, knowing that it's okay to kind of feel some of those not nice feelings about it, right? And also know that you're in a good space now. Like it can be both.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you just wake yourself up by crying? Did you have a bad dream? He does that sometimes, and now he's happy.
He just needs to see you, right? And that
Yeah.
connection. Yeah.
He's like, oh, yeah, wait, mom's right there. We're good.
Life feels better. My
Yeah.
mom's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you coming and sharing your story. Honestly, it's hard to know how many women struggle in isolation at no fault of their own, right? And your vulnerability and like confidence and power to share that is just, I honestly truly appreciate it.
Thank you. I truly believe a lot of moms are really scared to talk about it or to like join a group like this, because of like the comfortability of it or whatnot. And so I say, even to moms, I reach out and I say, hey, join this group with me. If you're like, you don't even need to show your face, you don't need to talk, you don't need to do anything. You can just sit in and listen. Um, so we did, I was part of one, it was called the Mint group. It was on Wednesdays. A few moms first joined with no voice, no video. And then by the end of it, they're showing their face and they're talking. And so it was nice. It's just somewhat, they need like that extra push just to know that, like, wow, everyone's kind of like going through the same thing, if not similar things. And we're all not crazy. Like, it's all
No.
part of just learning how to parent and all of that. And just, yeah, there's
Well,
no
as much
right
as
and
there's
wrong
like,
way.
yeah, like there's all these books, right? The preparing for birth and preparing for postpartum, but ultimately none of them actually speak to your individual
Oh, yeah.
situation. And so there is no book that truly prepares. You're just kind of winging it, right? We can have all
Oh,
this
yeah.
information and it's great to have, and we have this peer support, but each day is going to be a new learning curve, I'm sure. And that's,
Oh, yeah. And I still message Amy being like, I don't even know, just random examples. Like, I messaged her, be like, Jackson slept 9 hours last night. And she's like, oh my God. I'm like, I know, I was bored.
that isn't one we hear all the time. That's
I
for
know.
sure.
I don't tell moms anymore how good he sleeps. It's rare because he's 11 weeks old and he's been sleeping like this now, I guess, 3 weeks now, Amy, I guess, around that. Yeah.
It sounds like you're both feeling better because of that sleep, right? Like it's
Oh,
a good
yeah.
indication that what you're doing is working when you're feeling well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that you share about the Mint group. It's interesting because I think of like the example that I shared, right, about Pinterest or, Instagram or Facebook, I don't know, whatever platforms you use, and how we often compare. And so it feels very scary or unsafe to
Yeah.
be like, I'm struggling or I'm having a really hard time or I'm
Yeah.
losing my beep,
And
right?
maybe some people were raised not to voice that about
Yeah.
themselves, right? And so it's really hard for them to take that extra step. But
Yeah. And then as
yeah.
you go into these groups and you hear people, that validation and that holding space just allows for a little bit of safety and comfort to actually come out and be like, okay, yeah, like I
Yeah.
need this. I need these people. I need to share what I'm going through.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And without that judgment piece, right? Like just simply knowing like I'm here for you. It doesn't matter what you're going through, right? We're here
Hmm.
for each other through that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's also like amazing that there's so many groups happening now, right? Like that wasn't a thing maybe 10, 15 years ago. And so it's lovely
No.
that there is a safe space for people to go to
Mhm.
now.
Absolutely. And a lot of people think that like they're not hitting or like they're not going through it mentally and they don't realize it for maybe like a couple months, but then they like track back and they're like, oh my God, like for, yeah, like I know an example because of a friend of mine. She didn't really understand what she was like feeling and going through. She just thought that was like part of like her becoming a mom. And it was, yes, it is, but she didn't realize how much help was actually out there for her. So she kept everything bottled in and it got like way worse. And then the rage got even worse. And yeah, so
I had one client describe it as like the cloud lifted and I could see clearly again. And I was like, that's such a like a painful but beautiful visual, right?
yeah,
Of
like
like,
light at the end of the tunnel for sure.
yeah, yeah.
I think the type of practitioners you ladies are, and myself and Elizabeth as doulas, that's something we see a lot of where mums are struggling but don't realize they're struggling because they're comparing themselves to other people, and that social aspect is can be so hard. Like on one hand, it's such a great thing because there's so many things that we can find, like a lot of these groups Ashley's talking about to join that did not exist when my daughter was born. Like I didn't know anything.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we have such easy access to everything that when you're constantly seeing all these things, moms or whatever, who look like they have it together, I tell my clients all the time, you're
Mhm.
only seeing what's on camera. You're not seeing the behind the scenes part. And a lot of people do this for money, like they want followers and things like that. It's a job for them, or is there is some accounts out there that are actually showing what it's really like to be a mom. And those are the
Yeah.
ones you want to be following, not the ones that seem to have this perfect life together, because I think that that's unrealistic, and I think we always talk about in our Beyond the Bump class and with our clients that you have to be very cautious of what social media accounts you're following.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
Oh yeah.
so true.
and to try and be conscious of, like Ashley was saying, a lot of moms don't figure it out until a few months in that, okay, wow, like I'm really struggling, and then hopefully these moms are finding the supports that they need in their community to move forward and be able to work through all that. Because when they realize it's been going on for months, what stage are they at now that they like, how troubling is that, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
thank God for
Well,
you ladies.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about like the social media aspect of it, right? And the belief systems that we hold around like I think that there is a harmful belief sometimes that if I have this healthy, happy baby, well, I should be okay. Like I shouldn't be
Yes.
struggling or I shouldn't be remorseful or have grief because I have this healthy baby. And it's like, no, we can have both. Like, great, I have this healthy baby and also, I'm struggling and that's okay. Or my birth didn't go as I planned, and that was really scary for me, or my partner didn't show up how I wanted them to. And I can still like pay attention to and give attention to these harmful things while also having this great healthy baby, right? Like it doesn't negate the fact that we're going through all these things. And it's like I see that showing up online as well, right? It's like,
Mhm.
oh, well, just be happy because you have this baby. And it's like, well,
Well, at least the
no.
baby's healthy. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
hate that term too.
And
Yeah.
everyone always checks in on the baby, not the mom. So
Yeah.
always I'm reaching out and being like, congrats, but how are you, mom? Because I know the answer to that.
Mhm.
And don't lie to me because, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one ever checks on mom.
Yeah. Yeah. The text messages or the post, right? Or how is baby?
Yeah. Or they come over, go right to baby, don't care about mom.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, babies are cute. I love
Yeah.
babies. I love
For
to look at
sure.
the dog
Absolutely.
too. But we need to also pay attention to this amazing human who is taking care of the baby or birthed the baby or carried the baby or whatever that looks like for their journey, right?
Mhm.
It's so
Absolutely.
true. I'm so excited that today is just Friday 1 because I think like this month is, although kind of the reasons why we remember this month are, there's been some awful things that have happened, but I'm so excited for these rich conversations that are going to happen on Friday and just like being able to have this space for women to come and feel safe and be able to, move beyond I have a healthy baby. It's like, no, I'm struggling or this sucks or this is hard or I'm feeling this pain or this person didn't show up for me, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm excited for what that's going to look like for the remainder of this month.
I'm excited for the walk tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
A good
Ashley will
place
be
to
there at Flora's Walk as well.
Sure will. I
Yeah.
have like the crazy busiest day tomorrow, but the walk is part of it. I'm
Well, this,
getting
this this is my team here. This is part of my team here, Ashley.
amazing.
Yeah.
I'll be walking with you
excited
guys.
to meet you. Yeah.
We're doing mommy and me photos in the morning. So that's at 10 a.m. And then right after that, we'll be going to the walk. So I will have nice hair and makeup. I won't look like this. I get to shower tonight and get ready. And then right after the walk and the closing ceremonies, I'm meeting my mom kind of like Shelburne area because we have a 2-year-old birthday we have to go to. So it's just a very busy day.
Have a packed day. Well,
I
if you don't
do.
show up with perfect hair, we will celebrate you anyways. Whatever
Perfect.
you
No, I
get.
have to. I'm getting photos done. I haven't got any photos done with him yet. Like, and I'm a very like, I love photos to create memories and everything. And so, and usually I'm the one taking the photos, but now it'll just be Jackson and I. So we're excited.
Special.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. What a like nice way to start your day.
Oh yeah. An early Mother's Day present for myself.
Love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming, Ashley, and just again for your willingness to share and chat. Honestly, I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you. I'll see you guys next week as well. Well, I'll see you tomorrow. And I'll meet you in
They
person.
might not be on with us next week.
Oh.
I think because Elizabeth and I do next week, but I think Amber might be. I don't remember what Victoria said, but I think Amber's busy. So if they're not, they'll jump on and join too. But if
Oh,
they're-
okay, gotcha.
yeah,
Sounds
We
good.
will try to be there as
I
much
have
as
a
we
client, sorry.
that's what I thought. Yeah. So we're all kind of doing the Maternal Mental Health Month together. So they've got 2 sessions, and then Elizabeth and I have 3, because we have a bonus one on the 16th. But if we can jump on each other's, we will be doing that for as
Oh,
I
okay,
am here
awesome.
today. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I'll see you guys tomorrow if I meet you in person.
Yeah.
All right, take care.
Take care.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks, Victoria. That was